Okay. Can anybody hear us? Hello? Hello? Oh my god, why is it not working?
Is it YouTube having a problem?
It might be.
Oh, okay. Are we good? We're going to be using our webcam mic for the rest of this
Okay.
because we're having.
Yeah, like it's not showing that we're making any sound.
So if somebody can check it.
Can somebody just say if they can hear us? Yeah. Okay, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yes?
Are we good?
No? Maybe?
Yes. Oh, the tech issues.
Hello? Okay,
we're good.
Oh. Well, good. That means our mic's not broken because we had because we were talking and we couldn't see the little monitor on the bottom of the screen moving, and I was like, oh shit, what if our mic's broken? We have to record an episode after this.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about how shitty the mic quality on this is, but
anyway, yeah.
So yeah, we talked about all the
we talked about all the foreshadowing for the Sid reveal. Yep. Yeah, that was something that the Sid reveal was something that we had been prepping for a long time, and that we wanted people to be able to figure out, but we still wanted it to hit.
Yeah.
So very exciting. Very exciting to get here after building it up for that many episodes. I think it's like 49 at this point. Okay. Our next question from our patrons was, tell us about the pit, or whatever you're calling it. The ghost hole, you mean?
The ghost hole.
Big creepy Leo stuck his hand in it. Pit. Okay, so as we mentioned in the episode, the ghost hole is the same thing as the crack that opened up in the floor in Death Twins Part 2 when Alander let go of his sister's hand. Like that was what happened, was that crack in the floor kept growing, and they tiled it over so that the lighthouse would be safe to walk through, and then they opened it back up when they started throwing people in.
Yeah. So it's underground. Like essentially, like picture a cave under the lighthouse, essentially is what it is now. And like the actual like pit, the actual hole is like down there under the floor. Mm-hmm. And then they have the hole in the floor that like overlooks it that they
throw people into. Yeah, but that was the concept. It was the same thing as that crack in the floor from Death Twins Part 2. Like it's the physical manifestation of all of the trauma that got passed down from Alander Valentine.
It is at its core a broken promise, but it is a broken promise that is alive and hungry. Like,
yep.
We're getting ready to do some horror in this last arc of the campaign.
Yes. Very exciting. Our next question for our patrons was, talk about Fee and Adana's dynamic. They're sweet. I love them.
They're really good. Adana really said my daughter now.
Yeah. We've been really excited for that, for when we got to Adana. I think Fee was extremely stressed out as soon as she processed that was actually Adana, because like she said, she is kind of the physical manifestation of the affair that ruined Adana's marriage, except in Fee's mind anyway. But like, Adana knows what was actually going on, and Adana knows that the affair and thus Fee's existence was a symptom of the problem and not the actual cause. So I think it is just Adana voice. If you can't have children without messing them up, then I will have to take them away. My daughter now.
My daughter now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's good because like, Fee has never been short on mother figures. Like, Alasha has essentially been her mom for her entire life, but I think there's something special about having a mother figure with no conditions and without...
And really no expectations.
Yeah. And fundamentally, the reason that Alasha chose to raise Fee was because she was attached to Moreland, and that's where that relationship starts.
Yeah, so and it is, which is like fucked, because I mean, like, essentially, she adopted Fee with her like to fulfill this fantasy that she had in her mind of like, oh yes, this is our child, and like we are going to be a perfect family. Like, yeah. Which I think says a lot about like adoption trauma too. Of like, a lot of the time people will adopt kids and not take into account the inherent trauma that adoption starts with. Like,
yeah, and that's something that I don't think Alasha has ever really taken into account with her dynamic with Fee, and it's nice that Fee gets to have a mother figure that doesn't have that baggage.
She's got baggage.
But, yeah, she has different baggage.
But I think, that was kind of one of the first times probably that Fee had ever really heard that assertion of, like, you didn't ask to exist. Like, the circumstances of your existence are not your fault. And I, the person who was hurt the most by it, don't blame you for it. Like, because you didn't ask for it. You didn't ask to be born. Sorry, off topic. Somebody in the chat said Bestie Berry. This is my favorite shirt. It's my Bohemian Rhapsody shirt. It says, "I'm just a Poe boy. Nobody loves me. He's just a Poe boy from a Poe family."
It's the nerdiest shirt that I've ever seen in my life. It's great.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah. He's had it for like 6 years. It's fantastic.
And the screen printing on it's getting all cracked, and I'm so sad because I don't know where to find another
one. Okay, our next question. Our next question was, so they make the tween kill people, huh?
They sure do.
They sure do. That is essentially what the role of Hierophant entails, is a kind of inheritance.
They babysit the ghost hole.
Yeah, they babysit the ghost hole, they babysit the lighthouse. They basically have inherited the role that Elander Valsine gave himself before he was Archduke. So like that is the role of the Hierophant, is to watch the ghost hole, take charge of the lighthouse.
Feed the ghost hole.
It's like a pet that no one wants.
Yeah.
That's also why when that whole person went off, when they were trying to break into the lighthouse, that's why Sid came down the stairs, was because that was his whole person that was in a glyph of warding that they activated, so he got woken up when it got activated, and that's also why they got out of it so suddenly, because Sid came down the stairs with, I don't think we established this, but at any point, but he came down the stairs with True Sight cast on him. He saw who was there, and he let the whole person down.
Yeah, Sid very much does all of the things that he does, but we are going to find out that his he doesn't feel good about it, and he's a little bit resentful of his situation.
Yeah. Well, and I think he saw who was down there, and I think especially with Fee, he was like, oh, okay, I can use this.
Yeah.
I can use this. So he let them go. Because they are all more useful to him alive than executed for treason. And then our next question was, are we going to hear about Sid's feelings on that? And if not, do share.
They're not good.
They're not good. We do hear a lot from Sid's perspective next episode when he talks about everything, and like for the rest of the season, essentially, as much as he's around. Sid is in a complicated situation.
That he got dragged into against his will by somebody he thought was a friend when he was 10.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I am
honestly,
once again saying Defiance sucks.
Yeah, like honestly, like somebody he regarded as like probably an older sister figure, like at that point, because like we had mentioned that Defiance had been a pretty good family friend for like some time when the schism broke out.
Yep.
You know, anybody that Sabine would have trusted with her baby brother was probably around a lot. Like he probably regarded Defiance as like a big sister. Like,
oh yeah, like Sid was a 10-year-old who trusted Defiance implicitly. And then
she sold him to the priesthood.
Yep, and then she gave him to the fucking Death Island.
Yeah.
And he found out later that she was part of a plot to kill his parents. Like, we're gonna be hearing about it.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, Sid is in a complicated situation that he had no agency in entering, and he is desperately trying to get some agency and take control of the situation as a 15-year-old.
Hey, remember when Lorelai knocked Zed off that ladder and it was like super funny? Sid kills people.
Sid kills people. It's the same thing but bigger, I guess.
Yeah.
Except not, but oh goodness. Yeah, Sid's in a complicated situation. And we're gonna unpack it over the next several episodes. But yeah, we should clarify, he has in fact been the person personally sacrificing people to the ghost hole.
Since he was 10.
Well, not since he was 10, but since he became Hierophant.
Which was not that long ago.
Yeah, which was not that long ago. I think we said like 10, 15 years.
So,
yeah,
since he was like 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has been his role since he was like 12 because he is a very gifted cleric.
So yeah, to answer the unspoken question in the room, yep, he killed Soren. Sure did.
Yep.
Sure did, personally.
We should establish that. Yeah, he did personally. He was the one who personally killed Soren Chakrana. We should establish that one. Oof. And everyone else that has been dragged to the ghost hole, including every pirate from the fleet that Defiance trafficked into Loxuon. Sid's done some stuff, but also he was a 12-year-old who didn't have a lot of choices.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Oh, Sid is a thing. Yeah. Sid is complicated. And then our last question for our patrons was
open question.
Yeah, open question time in the chat. Our last question for our patrons was, do Sid thinkers win?
I don't know if win is the word that I would pick.
Everyone that has had conspiracy theories about Sid, you were correct. Here you go. But I wouldn't say win. I don't know if you're winning,
but you are right.
Yeah.
You might not win, but you are correct.
Somebody in the chat who is in fact a Sid thinker said, I think I'm losing, actually. Oh, goodness. Yeah, God, isn't this particular person, haven't you, like, been asking us about Sid for months?
And months, yeah.
And months? Here's the Sid reveal. God. He's going through a lot. He is just a little guy, and he's going through a lot.
He's going through a lot, but also he's such a shithead.
Mm-hmm. He's going through a lot, but he is a shitty little boy.
He talks so much shit.
Teen Squad, he is the worst.
He talks so much shit to Leo next week. I'm so excited for you guys to see it.
It's good. He's a shitty little boy. He is stinky. He did try to poison a bunch of people at the Beacon Party in season 1.
Not for any particular reason.
Yeah, just because he wanted to. Just because he was mad.
I don't think it was lethal poison, too. I think it was just like something that was going to make a bunch of these shitty rich people sick.
Yeah. I think his goal was to make everyone else at that Beacon Party horrifically ill.
And then Sabine said, "Stop that!
Stop it!" He is a shitty little boy. He has killed hundreds of people.
Yeah.
He's a shitty little 15-year-old. Oh, he sucks. Sid Illidan, everybody. Oh, we should also explain. In my head, at least, I think we've discussed this, but Illidan is kind of a foundling type name for people from Ilneus.
Mm-hmm.
So,
kind of like think like Jon Snow.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Like it was a specifically chosen, very anonymizing name because they couldn't very well enroll him in the priesthood as Sid Javaris.
Yeah.
Because the Javarises were well connected.
Well, and they wouldn't have had this narrative of like, oh, we found this kid with all this crazy clerical power just wandering around. Like, if his last name had been Javaris going into that, they would have been like, no, you fucking didn't.
Yeah, if his last name had been Javaris right after the Javaris manor burned to the ground, yeah, it would have been a very different narrative.
And, like, the priesthood doesn't exactly have a lot of morals, but there would have been enough people when he became the Hierophant that would have been like, oh, you burned that kid's house to the ground and kidnapped him, didn't you?
Yep.
Like,
yep. Yeah. But, like, Sabine and Sid and Florian's parents were secretive enough about the kids that they were adopting that he just flew right under the radar. It was fucked. Sabine chat said putting one of those rainbow pinwheel hats on him, giving him a balloon. He's a shitty little boy.
I'm just picturing that with, like, some Molgoth bangs.
And the
little twirly hat.
We didn't make the Molgoth bangs canon.
There's a line where you say that he blows hair out of his face, though, so I imagine it is Molgoth bangs. And I also had a realization the other day. We've talked a lot about how, like, the only two humans in the world that Kimmerl actually kind of likes are Leo and Sid. And I had a really, like, sad realization of, like, Kimmerl likes Sid because Kimmerl left behind a shitty, angsty, Molgoth, teenage, asshole little brother.
On the moon. Yep.
On the moon, that he never gets to see or talk to again.
Yep. Kimmerl to Sabine. It's my turn with the Molgoth.
my brother now.
Yeah. I have custody. God.
I know he's a tweet, but I think of him as the little German boy. No, little Australian boy, don't go onto the Death Island. Oh my God!
Silence full of
Ghostin.
Stop!
No!
Stop! Fuck.
Oh no!
Oh, my stomach hurts. Oh my God. Yeah. No, little Australian boy.
Don't go to the Death Island.
Go to the Death Island.
Oh my God, this island is full of ghosts and spooking.
Bad.
Oh, I'm dying.
Bad.
Oh, I have tears. Oh my God.
Anyway.
God, do you understand how bad I wish I could draw right now?
Fuck. Oh, I'm glad we get memes about Sid's whole situation.
It's one of those things where you laugh or you cry.
You laugh or you cry, yeah. But yeah, just the Molgoth bangs will haunt me. His aesthetic is already so goth. He's got the fucking veil and shit.
I think he looks like number 5 from the Umbrella Academy, but like with a Molgoth. Like I think he's got like the scene kid, early 2000s scene kid bangs.
Does he have the jelly bracelets also?
I don't know. Will the priesthood let him wear the jelly bracelets, or are they like a holy symbol?
No. Canceled. Quitting. Stopping.
Are they blessed jelly bracelets?
I'm leaving the podcast. I'm resigning. Someone in the chat said, did Soren leave in the murder moment seen through the scrying because please be patient, I have PTSD, or was it like weird magic things? Both.
Soren did not, or whatever is left of Soren's consciousness, did not want to see Leo have the realization that he did of, oh my God, this is what they did to Soren, and have him be there. Like it was mostly a thing that was done out of making the moment as gentle for Leo as it could be. Like, there was no way it was going to be a gentle moment. There was no way it was going to be a realization that didn't irreparably fuck him up. But, like, having to sit there and look Soren in the eye as he realized, oh my God, this is what they did to you. I think Soren was always kind of this character that we wrote as being very opposed to, like, needless cruelty.
Yeah.
And I think he had some degree of realization of, like, oh, making Leo sit here and look me in the eye as he watches how I died is needlessly cruel.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think it was also a bit of a magic thing, just because that was the moment that a sacrifice was going into the ghost zone. But like that was mostly it. Like to whatever degree it was voluntary, whatever is left of Soren Chakrana's consciousness did not want to watch the love of his life realize how he died. Like, oops.
Well, yeah, because, and we'll be digging more into this in future episodes, but Leo's Phantom Rogue subclass, all of the ghosts that he sees are tied to the ghost hole. So
tied to the ghost hole somehow.
Yeah, we'll explain more.
Yeah, but we'll explain more, but like that is the thing. All of the ghosts that Leo sees are ghosts that are in that hole. For one reason or another. Most of them sacrifices, some of them not.
The Valsine family is just like irreparably tied to the ghost hole.
Yeah,
like, in general. Yeah. Like Valorant never had a choice. Like Valorant didn't get thrown in the ghost hole, but
nope. But
by virtue of his blood, he is in there. Yeah,
he's in there. Every Valsine Archduke and all of their children are in there. Ileana,
everybody with a Lander's blood, like essentially, yeah.
And Ileana is in there because we've mentioned before that like the final resting place of the Archdukes and like a lot of their family members and like a lot of like national heroes are on the island of Loxodal, and they are directly above the ghost hole. Yeah, that's also part of why Valorant is in there, because that's where he's interred forever.
Yeah. But like he would have ended up in there by virtue of Yeah. There's a lot of stuff about like divine soul sorcery that like we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of here, but like no, because Leo says it. No, Leo said it this episode. Yeah, Leo cleared it up this episode when he was like talking to Fee after the whole Soren thing. The ghost hole is what fuels all divine soul sorcery in Astraria. Yeah. So anybody that's a divine soul sorcerer is pulling power off the ghost hole their whole life, and when they die, the ghost hole collects its due.
Yeah, that's also part of why Ileana is there. Like it's a lot of different reasons that everybody is there. I think connection is someone with a stronger connection to Leo and with a stronger connection to the ghost hole is more likely to manifest as one of Leo's ghosts. Like I had a bunch in a list, but it's bad. Somebody in the chat said, is the ghost hole like a portal kind of thing? Like a wormhole? Or is it more like a pot with a bottom? It's a glue trap.
Yeah. And it keeps getting bigger because more people get... I would say visually, picture... You know the scene at the end of Disney's Hercules at the river Styx with like the whirlpool with like all the ghosts like floating around in it? Like that's kind of what I picture.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, more or less. That's kind of what I was picturing. Less of the swirling and more just like a massive crowd trying to claw their way out
of a pit.
Each other.
Like
like crabs in a bucket.
Yeah.
It's not a pot, it's a glue trap. They are all trying to get out and they cannot get out because they are kept there as fuel for Astraria's divine soul sorcery.
Things I realized that like hugely influenced our story that we wrote, like without like I just now realized this. Anybody that has watched The Witcher, think like about how the girls who didn't graduate from Aretuza got turned into the eels and then like put into the pond under the Tower of the Gull, and like they were completely robbed of agency, they were completely robbed of their personhood, and they were turned into magical batteries.
Yep.
That's what the ghost hole does.
I was also thinking of when we watched The Haunting of Bly Manor. I'm thinking of that when they talk about like the ghost being trapped there. That's why a bunch of them didn't have faces, because they have degraded after so long. Yeah, that was an inspiration.
Yeah, but I would say like the magical theory of it is very much influenced by like The Witcher and like the Tower of the Gull at Aretuza and things like that, where like people get used as magical batteries, and that's super fucked up, huh?
That's super fucked. It's bad. Somebody in the chat said, I think of it like a boiling ghost soup. Ghost soup that's not very good. Yeah, ghost soup. Yeah. Yeah, it's bad. We're gonna be dissecting everything with the ghost hole, but it is very much a thing that is meant to keep the spirits that are fueling Ashurian Divine Soul Sorcery in there to further fuel Divine Soul Sorcery.
Like, theoretically, like...
It's a metaphor for capitalism.
It is, but I think the funny thing is, well, not funny, it's actually hideous, but, like, if you look at it just from a perspective of, yeah, like, if you're a Divine Soul Sorcerer, you are tied to the ghost hole, and you pull off the ghost hole, and when you die, you go in the ghost hole, and you, like, make that a closed circuit. Like, it is kind of a self-sustaining battery. Like, that's just bare-bones necromancy, baby. But then... like, yeah, this slippery slope that Elander Valsine just did not predict. Like...
But the Justice did.
The Justice did. Well, yeah, like, this man could not have predicted, like, God, his blood, like, his bloodline alone. You know, not only just would the, I think if it had just stayed in the bloodline, really, like, it could have been closer to, like, a self-sustaining thing. Yeah. But every person he saved and every person that magic touched became a Divine Soul Sorcerer.
Yeah, and they wanted to keep their power at a level that was not sustainable by the ghost hole.
So they had to go start finding people to throw in the ghost hole. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's fucked. It's fucked. I think if Elander hadn't had more kids after that deal and he hadn't resurrected anyone who then became a Divine Soul Sorcerer, what I think would have happened was Elander would have died and the crack in the ground would have sealed up.
Yeah, if he hadn't done anything to further that damage. Because the crack in the floor was just basically, at its beginning, it was his own power reserve, number one. And it was, like, that broken promise made real. Like,
yeah, and, like, it has gotten so big because the harm that Elander started has kept being perpetuated and kept going. Like, it very much is the physical manifestation of the shit that Elander started that got way out of hand.
Well, yeah, because, like, let's think about it. Like, we said that at that point in Death Twins 2, he had killed 8 people to sustain his own power source. His youngest, at the time, his youngest child.
Yeah.
And, like, all the people that he had brought back.
Which wasn't a lot.
Which wasn't a lot. So that took 8 people over the course of, like, a couple decades. Mm-hmm. But now, 10 to 15% of the Australian population are Divine Soul Sorcerers.
It's like, thousands of people.
Yeah, there are thousands.
They all have kept flexing their magical abilities and have wanted to keep the same level of power. And especially, like, the Valsine dynasty, like the Valsine Archdukes, wanted to keep themselves in power, so they kept perpetuating the system that is killing people through the church. Like, it's very... I said it's a metaphor for capitalism. I wasn't joking.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad. Somebody in the chat said something, it will come back by Hosier. Actually, but yeah, it's very much...
Honey, don't feed it. It will come back.
But yeah, the hole in the floor was a visual metaphor and visual representation for... Like, the fact that it went from a little crack in the floor to the chasm was a visual representation and a metaphor for how bad things have gotten when Elander's been on that slippery slope.
What was happening when Leo stuck his hand in there? Like, with Soren screaming after him and all the voices echoing, what was that actually? The ghost hole likes Leo a lot.
The ghost hole likes Leo a lot. He was not tied to it super explicitly.
Because he wasn't a sorcerer.
Yeah, from the beginning. Now he is. And now he is both tied to it and the next in line to be the Archduke, and thus to be in charge of it.
And the ghost hole likes the Archdukes, too.
Yep. Yeah. The ghost hole likes Leo a lot. And the ghost hole wants Leo to be in there.
The ghost hole thinks Leo looks really tasty.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that's what was happening. So Leo stuck his hand in there and he took massive amounts of damage, and if he had been allowed to keep going, it would have just killed him.
Yeah, we're gonna do some horror in this last arc, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, the answer there is just the ghost hole likes Leo a lot.
Mm-hmm. And thus, when the ghost hole is exerting its influence, every ghost in there likes Leo a lot.
Including Soren, who, like, while he did have some agency of his own, is ultimately beholden to the vast, unholy machine that he is a part of. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, Soren called out first because Leo has had Soren on the mind, and especially in that moment had Soren on the mind, and Leo misses Soren, and that's why Soren yelled first.
It wasn't even... Honestly, I would say it wasn't Soren yelling. It was the ghost hole using Soren. The ghost hole had Soren's voice at that moment, and was yelling for him with Soren's voice.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. We're gonna do some horror at the end of the campaign.
Yeah. Speaking of, like, I know we said Sabine was gonna have a rough couple episodes. Leo's gonna have a rough couple episodes.
Everybody's gonna have a rough couple episodes until the end. It's gonna be a rough few episodes to the end. Things are gonna be interesting. The podcast has a happy ending. The epilogue will be nice. But as we're ramping up to the end, things are a lot. And with that, that's it for us this week in the Q&A.
So sorry for the technical difficulties. We will try to make sure that
doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get us a new cable
doing our best.
for our mic. Okay.
Check content warnings next week. Also, check them.
Yeah.
Check
them.
Yeah. It's not as bad as this week, but check them.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.